Claire Reed pulled into the driveway of her childhood home, but as she reached the door, her key stopped turning a quarter inch from the plate. The old lock was still there, but above it a shiny new deadbolt glinted, blocking the bolt she knew by heart. She tried again, jiggling the key, but the mechanism inside was foreign and refused to move. Through the glass, Karen stood with crossed arms and a thin smile, watching like someone who had already won.
I'll be back with the right key, Karen.
She didn't wait for an answer. She turned, walked to her car, and pulled out her phone without a single tremor in her hand.
Harper. She changed the locks. It's time.
I'll have the deed ready. Give me 20 minutes.
The Harper and Associates building stood downtown. Inside its walls, the record of what Claire had bought last spring waited in a locked file. The stepmother who thought she'd won had no idea the house she stood in belonged to the woman she'd just locked out. But Claire remembered exactly how that house had almost been lost. 2 years ago, it was a place of grief after her mother died. A portrait of her mother hung on the wall, the smile Claire still spoke to in her loneliest moments. Her father, Robert, had retreated into a recliner, weakened by a stroke, barely aware of who entered the room. He introduced Karen 6 months later, a woman who rearranged the kitchen without asking, her coldness settling like frost.
I am just here to make sure Robert is cared for. You'll have to start paying rent if you want to stay.
The words felt like a lock clicking shut long before the deadbolt was ever installed. Then, last spring, while sorting her mother's belongings, she found a foreclosure letter. 3 weeks until the auction. The letter was blunt. Final notice. Auction scheduled. The date was circled in red. She called a real estate attorney. A trust purchased the title at auction for pennies on the dollar. She never told anyone. The house belonged to her and had for over a year. Now, the same day, Claire walked into Harper and Associates, the firm that had filed the deed last spring. Inside the polished office, Attorney Harper already had the warranty deed spread on her desk.
It's ironclad, Claire. The title is in your trust. Karen has no claim here.
What do you recommend? Should I show her this now?
Number? Wait. Let her dig her own grave. Document every move. We'll strike when she oversteps.
She already locked me out. That's just the beginning.
Harper tapped the deed with one manicured nail, her expression unreadable.
I'll draft a lease agreement now, if you want. It can become her new reality.
She pulled a manila folder from a drawer, the label already printed. Lease agreement draft. Claire left the office with more than a deed. She had a plan and the patience to see it through. 2 days later, a process server delivered a thick envelope to Claire's apartment, an eviction notice signed by Karen's attorney, with a court date 2 weeks out. Before she could call Harper, her phone rang. Karen's name flashed on the screen.
Enjoy your little apartment, Claire. The house is mine now. My lawyer says eviction is just a formality.
You've been reading too many legal thrillers, Karen. We'll see who the law favors.
She hung up and forwarded the notice to Harper, who filed a countersuit the next morning. The countersuit cited wrongful eviction and demanded an immediate halt to all property changes. The same afternoon, Karen sent a text to Claire. The text read, "If you keep this up, your mother's things go in the trash tomorrow."
She won't touch a single picture frame. I'll make sure of that.
The battle lines were drawn, but only Claire knew the one piece Karen had no power to remove. The mediation office smelled of stale coffee. Claire sat beside Harper. Across the table, Karen flanked by a stern attorney. Karen's lawyer slid a document across the polished wood. The eviction notice, stamped and official.
Before we address property rights, I need to ask about Robert Reed's current care. Who manages his medications?
That's none of your business. I am his wife. I take care of everything.
Harper opened a folder containing photographs and notes from Claire's visits, evidence of neglect.
If this eviction is about residency, then the resident's well-being is directly relevant to this proceeding.
The mediator, a tired woman with reading glasses, raised a hand. She ordered a full care review before any eviction hearing.
This is a stall tactic. You can't prove anything. I won't let you take this house.
Karen shoved her chair back and stormed out, her lawyers scrambling to gather the scattered papers.
Stall or not, it bought time, and time was all I needed.
Claire used the care review as a pretext to slip inside, her spare key now useless, so she knocked until Karen's nurse unlocked the door. She found Robert slumped in his recliner, unchanged clothes, and a rank smell. A red bedsore crept up his heels. Her phone came out. She photographed the untouched medication bottles, the half-empty water glass, the skin breakdown.
Harper, I have proof. A bedsore no one has dressed. He's been sitting in his clothes for days.
Before Harper could reply, the front door slammed. Karen stormed in, her face twisted.
You are trespassing. Get out before I call the police. You have no right to be here.
I'll leave. But the care review can't be stopped. Look at those photographs, Karen. They tell a different story.
She walked out, not retreating but rearming. The evidence was already with Harper.
I wanted to scream, but I kept walking. My father needed more than anger. He needed action.
By nightfall, the photos were filed. The eviction case now depended on a man whose own wife couldn't keep him clean. The next morning, Claire sat in Harper's office, the photographs spread between them like a prosecutor's exhibit.
We have enough for a conservatorship, Claire. You could be your father's legal guardian.
Number. I won't strip him of his dignity. He'd never forgive me if he knew.
Harper nodded, then opened a different file, a title search she'd run that morning.
Karen took out a lien against the house for care expenses 2 months ago. She never disclosed it.
She slid a notice of lien across the desk. The amount was small, but the implications were not.
She's using the house as collateral. If that lien isn't satisfied, the bank can seize it.
We need to act now. The deed gives you priority, but a recorded lien clouds the title.
She's not just locking me out. She's draining the house of its value.
The stakes had shifted. Protecting the house meant stopping Karen before the lien grew teeth. Claire found Karen in the kitchen, counting bills under the fluorescent light. A copy of the lien was folded in her hand.
Explain this lien, Karen. You borrowed against a house you claim to own.
I don't know what you are talking about. That's a lie.
Claire unfolded the notice of lien and set it on the table. Karen's face drained as she read the official stamp.
I needed money for Robert's treatment. The insurance didn't cover everything. I was drowning.
Her composure broke. The hard lines softened into wet cheeks and trembling hands.
She wasn't evil. She was terrified of losing him and this house. But that didn't make it right. Are there other liens I don't know about? Debts that could take this house?
No, I swear. Just that one. I'll pay it back when I can. Please don't let them take the house.
The admission changed nothing legally, but it shifted the landscape inside Claire. This was no longer a battle with a villain, it was a crisis of care. That afternoon, Claire brought her new understanding to Harper's office. The lease draft was already on the desk.
Karen isn't a monster. She's broke and scared. I don't want to evict her, but I can't let her destroy Dad's home.
Then we use the deed to impose terms. Not an eviction, a lease, with conditions that protect your father.
They worked through the clauses. Unannounced visits by a care monitor, no additional liens, full access for Claire.
She signs this, and she stays as long as she complies. If she doesn't, we enforce possession.
And Robert never has to know any of this. He'll just see peace in the house.
It's the cleanest way. The lien we can satisfy quietly. Keep the title clear.
The lease became more than a document. It was a bridge between retribution and care.
Let's move. I want this signed before Karen can dig another hole.
The deed remained locked away, a secret shield. But the lease was a sword she intended to wield. Before she could wield the lease, she needed to see her father one more time, to measure the cost of what she was about to do.
You are back soon, checking up on me again.
Just to see Dad. The care review is tomorrow, and I wanted him to know I am here.
Karen retreated to the kitchen, but her shadow lingered at the edge of the room.
This house still smells like your mother's roses, even after all these years.
He still calls it Mom's house. He has no idea how close it came to crumbling.
You remind me of her. She'd have fought a bear for this place.
I learned from the best, Dad. Now rest. I'll handle the bears. He's right. This house was hers, and I will keep it safe, no matter what.
When she left, the lease in her bag felt heavier, but her resolve had never been lighter. Claire sat in the driveway, the lease folded on the passenger seat, and dialed Karen's number.
You've been calling a lot. What do you want this time?
Tomorrow, 10 o'clock at the house. I'll bring my attorney. We end this
Why should I trust you? Your attorney will just twist everything.
because I am tired of fighting. Sign whatever papers you need. Just be there.
Fine. 10 o'clock. But if this is a trick, I am calling my lawyer.
Harper contacted the precinct. An officer agreed to stand witness during the signing. Claire spent the night reading the lease, each clause a shield for her father. By dawn, the officer confirmed. The meeting at the house was set. Claire drove to the address she owned, waiting for Karen to walk into the trap. It was past midnight. Claire lay awake, the weight of the morning pressing on her chest like a stone.
She would know what to do. She always did.
She rose and opened the drawer where she kept her mother's letters, tied with a faded blue ribbon. The paper read, "My dearest Claire, this house is not just walls. It's where I loved you first. Keep it safe." Claire's eyes burned. A tear slipped down her cheek and blotted the ink.
I kept it safe, Mom, and tomorrow I'll make sure it stays that way.
She stood and walked to the living room, where her mother's portrait hung in the soft light of a reading lamp.
You taught me to fight with love, not anger. That's what I'll do tomorrow. No more fear. Only fight.
By dawn, she was dressed, the lease in her bag, the deed locked in her lawyer's file. At 10 sharp, the car rolled into the driveway. Harper stood near the porch, and beside her, a uniformed officer. Claire straightened and climbed the steps. The lease was a rigid weight against her side.
You brought the cops? I should have known.
He's a witness, not an enforcer. Let us in, Karen.
The officer stated his role was only to observe and ensure everything was conducted properly. Karen's grip tightened on the doorframe. For a moment, she looked past them at the patrol car.
Fine. Come in. But this had better be quick.
Claire stepped inside, the familiar scent of her mother's roses hitting her harder than any accusation.
We're not here to steal, Mrs. Reed. We're here to clarify the legal ownership of this property.
Karen's face went blank. The word ownership hung in the air. Her hand trembled slightly. Harper opened her leather briefcase and pulled out a single sheet of paper, crisp and notarized.
Mrs. Reed, you are a tenant in a property owned by my client. This deed proves it.
Karen barked a laugh, but it died when she saw the officer's impassive face. Harper held the deed out for the officer, who scanned the official seal and nodded. Then she laid it on the table. Claire Reed, owner of record, purchased last spring. Karen snatched the paper and read the name 3 times, her lips moving silently.
This is impossible. The house was supposed to pass to me. You are a liar.
I bought it when the bank was about to take it. You were never on the title.
The paper trembled in Karen's hand. The officer's presence made the moment undeniable. Every eviction notice Karen had filed was now a paper shield against a fortress of truth.
How did you do this? You. You were always the quiet one.
Last spring, the bank scheduled foreclosure. Claire purchased the title through a trust before the auction.
You tricked me. You let me think I was in charge while you hid in the shadows.
I didn't trick you. I saved this house from the bank. You were never on the title.
The officer cleared his throat. The deed is legitimate. This property is hers. His voice was final. The sound that came from Karen was not a word. It was a single, broken sob. She dropped the deed. It fluttered to the carpet, and she followed, sinking onto the sofa.
This could have been her breaking point, but I couldn't let it be.
We're not finished. My client has a proposal.
Claire reached into her bag, her fingers brushing the lease. The moment had arrived. Claire withdrew a multi-page document and set it on the coffee table. The top sheet read, "Residential Lease Agreement."
I am not evicting you, Karen. I am offering you a lease. You can stay, but under conditions. First, your care of Dad gets monitored. Second, no more liens. Third, I have access whenever I want.
Harper slid a copy toward Karen. She stared at the clauses as if they were written in another language.
This is non-negotiable. The owner grants you residency only as long as you meet every condition.
She's not throwing me out. She's giving me a way to stay.
The lease was a cage, but it had an open door. All Karen had to do was walk in on Claire's terms.
Sign this, and you answer to me. If you refuse, you leave tonight. The officer is here to make sure of it.
Karen's gaze flicked toward the officer, then back to the ink on the page. Her whole body seemed to shrink. The stepmother, who had locked Claire out, now faced a locked-in obligation. The pen sat between them, waiting. Harper lifted the page and read aloud, her voice as flat as the ink.
Monthly wellness checks by a licensed care monitor. No additional liens. Full access for Miss Reed.
Karen's breathing was the only sound between the clauses.
If I don't sign, I lose everything. If I do, I am her tenant forever.
She reached for the pen, the weight of it heavier than any door she'd ever locked. Her hand shook as the tip touched paper. The script was barely legible, but it was enough. Harper notarized the document, then slid it into her briefcase with a soft click.
It wasn't victory. It was a burden, but I'd carry it for Dad.
Karen slumped, bound by the rope she had tried to tighten around someone else. The house belonged to Claire, but the stepmother would pay rent in obedience. After Harper left, the room felt hollow. Karen didn't move from the sofa.
I was so afraid of losing him. I thought if I controlled the house, I'd keep him safe.
You nearly let him rot in that chair, Karen. Fear doesn't excuse neglect.
I know, I failed, but I had nowhere else to go. No money, no family.
Claire looked at the woman who had locked her out, now a crumpled figure on her mother's sofa.
You can stay as long as you follow the lease. But if Dad suffers again, you are out. Understood?
Karen nodded, not trusting her voice. They didn't embrace, they didn't forgive. They simply came to an arrangement born of exhaustion.
This isn't peace. It's a ceasefire, but it's enough for now.
The house settled into an uneasy quiet, its new lock no longer a barrier, but a bridle. Claire walked down the hall to her father's room, where the evening light fell across the blanket. Robert's eyes were closed, his breathing deep and even. The bedsore was healing.
Everything's fine, Dad. The house is safe.
She bent and pressed a kiss to his forehead, the way her mother used to.
He'll never know how close he came to losing it. That's the gift I can give him.
She slipped out of the room and pulled the door nearly shut. On the porch, she paused and looked at the key in her palm, the one that now fit only one lock.
I am the one holding the deed. Not out of revenge, but out of love.
A calm, knowing half-smile returned to her lips. The weight that had pressed on her since that first night finally lifted. She locked the door behind her, not as an enemy, but as the keeper of her mother's promise. Weeks later, autumn leaves gathered on the lawn, but the house itself looked brighter. Windows polished, the lock on the door a familiar shape. Karen stood at the stove, stirring a pot, her face less strained. A care monitor's report sat on the counter, signed and compliant. In the living room, Robert sat in his recliner, the newspaper open on his lap, his eyes tracking the words with renewed focus.
The leaves are almost gone. You know your mother loved this season.
Claire arrived carrying a fresh bouquet, setting it on the kitchen table beside the fruit bowl.
She always said a vase of chrysanthemums could chase the cold away.
Karen ducked her head, dishing out supper without a sarcastic remark. The three of them ate at the same table, the clink of spoons covering the unspoken truce.
The nurse said, "The bedsore is almost gone."
For the first time in years, the house hummed with something that felt like home. After supper, Claire drifted to the porch, where a rocking chair sat exactly as her mother had left it.
She always said this porch was her favorite place. Now it's mine to protect.
A framed photo of her mother rested on the railing, beside a small vase of fresh chrysanthemums.
I kept my promise, Mom. The house is still yours, in every way that matters.
The sunset painted the sky in the same gold and rose as the evening her mother last sat in that chair.
Some inheritances aren't written in a will. They're fought for, quietly, in the name of love.
A calm, knowing half-smile returned. Not a mask, but a reflection of peace. She closed her eyes and listened to the rustle of leaves, the distant hum of the neighborhood. The deed was locked in a safe, but its real power lay not in paper but in the lives it protected. When she opened her eyes, the house stood steady behind her, its windows glowing in the fading light. The stars emerged one by one, cold and distant, but the window on the second floor burned warm. Behind that glass, a fragile peace held, a father unaware, a stepmother compliant, a daughter watchful. The stepmother who had locked her out now answered to her, bound not by prison bars, but by a lease. Inside, a man who had almost lost everything slept undisturbed, his daughter's secret wrapped around him like a blanket. Claire had not won a battle. She had built a sanctuary, brick by silent brick. Some inheritances aren't written in ink or recorded in courtrooms. They're earned in the quiet moments on porches at sunset, in phone calls to attorneys, in deeds folded like love letters. This lock on the door was new, but the heart of the house had never changed, and as the night wrapped around it, the home stood, saved by the daughter who refused to let it fall, fade to black.